Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna start. I added the questions from James Lipton's thing from Inside the Actor Studio. So let's start with what's your favorite word?
My favorite word. My favorite word.
Your favorite word?
Yes.
Yes. What's your least favorite word?
No.
What turns you on?
Baseball.
What turns you off?
Lack of baseball.
What sound or noise do you love?
Train.
That's interesting. What sound or noise do you dislike?
Crying from an adult.
Let's go back to the train thing. Do you miss the trains from Mount Vernon?
Yes.
And we had trains going through Eau Claire a lot too, even.
Yes.
And there's no tracks anywhere near your house anyway. There's tracks here in Champaign, but that's interesting. I don't think I've ever heard you say that that's something that you liked or that you miss. Just, I mean, specifically the trains. But there's something, if I mean, having grown up in Mount Vernon, there's something soothing about that clackety 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 clackety
The
clackety.
background of the family is related to the train
Oh, a lot of your family worked in the train.
greatly. All around the train.
One of my employees' husbands works on Burlington, Northern Santa Fe. Um, okay, what's your favorite curse word?
Favorite curse word? Damn.
I don't remember you. I remember you saying "damn it" and "shit" a lot. Not so much shit, but I remember those are the only two things I really remember you saying. And I remember when you said GD, mom would get frustrated. So you tried to censor yourself. And I think it reminds me, and I hate to bring up Bill Cosby, but it reminds me of the bit where he talks about he thought his dad was an idiot because he never finished a sentence because you're censoring yourself around your kids. uh, what profession other than your own would you have liked to attempted?
I always wanted to be a psychiatrist.
We've talked about that before, and I remember the first time you told me that it kind of startled me. But you're a people watcher, so I get that. What profession would you not like to do?
What I did.
Is that why you always told me to pick something I love doing? And you realize that for me, I'm from that I took enjoy working, and I find joy in everything I do as long as I can find some meaningful purpose for it. But that's important to me. I mean, I remember you saying that over and over again. Don't find something you love to do because work sucks. Going to work doing something you hate sucks. Only I don't think you use the term sucks. uh, and this is the last James Lipton question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
There's a game at 2 o'clock.
Not what I expected, but highly appropriate coming for you. Before I forget, did you see the post about Uno a couple weeks ago, and where Daphne, I said quote of the evening, and Daphne had said, "Dad cheats at everything," or something like that. Russ posted, "Your dad doesn't cheat at anything. If this is true, I need to reconsider all of my APBA losses to him." And I was like, "No, you hit the nail on the head. He would never cheat." I said, "This was about my friend John." So now this is a group of questions. The guy's name's Brendan Burchard, I think. Um, and it's interview someone you love about life. And this was designed, I think he said,
He's
for
an
his parents.
industrial psychiatrist.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I figured you'd know who he was. But anyway, there's 31 questions here, so it might be a little long.
That's all right.
and we'll probably skip around. But the first 10 went faster than I expected. I was thinking we would probably take 3 to 5 minutes a question, but some of them are short. But anyway, so what comes to mind when you think about growing up in Mount Vernon? That's a pretty joyful smile.
Oh God, my backyard, my mom, my dad, my friends, my basketball court, my baseball glove, my
The basketball court at East School behind Grandma and Grandpa's house,
at West School.
or West School, yeah,
Uh,
where I got my eye cut open.
basically, there wasn't anything I didn't like about Mount Vernon except for a couple of people. So
What did you love to do as a kid before you were in high school?
what did I love to
Probably
do?
baseball.
Well, honestly, baseball, football, basketball, boxing, wrestling,
And fishing.
fishing. But I also read a lot of books about what made men men and what made women women and the
You mean
differences between them. I spent the library was my favorite place at Mount Vernon.
was it the same library that we went to as kids? Right there by Mercy or Martin Memorial?
Right,
Right next to the church. Yeah.
right.
What in high school? What did you love to do? I mean, what changed when you were a teenager?
I skipped school.
To do.
Mainly play my baseball game.
At home, or so you were playing the
Oh,
tabletop,
I took it down by the river.
but you were playing the tabletop games, APBA, or so
I
that was
also
like that's the equivalent of kids skipping school today to play video games.
I also I don't know. I guess I learned a lot. I went around with nature. You ever sit and watch crawdads and stuff in the water? I mean, this thing's
So when you were in grade school, who did you hang out with?
Ron White.
It was Ron, and even in high school, it was Ron.
Right.
It was just you and him, pretty much.
Yeah, I had friends, but
He was the one you were tight with.
yeah.
What do you remember most about your teenage years?
I remembered that I was probably a total. I remember being afraid of women, afraid of girls, thinking at school. I learned more in the library and I learned from the teachers. And the teachers didn't like it when you tell them that.
What
I
scared?
knew what I wanted to do when I was 12 years old and I went and did it. But I wasn't, obviously, in the end, I wasn't good enough. So,
I don't know that it's not that you weren't good enough, but you wanted to do it. You didn't understand that there was a game that had to be played. Because I went through the same thing. No matter what you want to do, there's some politics involved.
right.
And I know how much you hate that because I grew up with that, learning that from you.
Not only did I hate it,
You refused to do it.
then I have grown to really. It's kind of like me watching Donald Trump. To me, Donald Trump is what's wrong with everything that most Americans stick up for.
Because he can buy it instead of earning it? Or what's the context there?
He's a loudmouth bastard.
So because you think because he's arrogant, he's arrogant because he's rich and he doesn't care what other people think?
well, that doesn't bother me as much as what he says. He does not think through what he's saying. He's not talking. He talks down to people.
That I don't like, and I see that a lot. I don't like that, but I like that he shoots from the hip because I don't
Well,
like
I
people
don't
who
mind him
censor
shooting
everything
from
he
the
says.
hip, but the but the thing is, everybody thinks that rich people are wonderful.
Well, but everybody doesn't think that, and I think he epitomizes what a lot of people think about rich people.
Right.
But I also think I guess what I'm getting at is the one thing that I like about Trump is that you're not going to be able to buy him as easy as you can buy these other candidates, and they're all bought and paid for.
Well,
So he has his own agenda based on his own money and his contributors, but really he's harder to buy, and that I kind of think is a
I
palatable
I
trait for a politician
I
in this
think I
climate.
I think that the one thing that Trump has forgotten to talk to about seriously is the how he would handle the veterans.
Oh yeah, I think there's been some tense conversations there.
Yeah.
We got derailed a little bit there. What was it you remember most about your teenage years? Oh, being scared of women. What what is it that you were afraid of? You just didn't understand how to communicate with them, or to?
Well, girls.
That's what I mean.
I had a friend. Her name was Sharon Snyder. To me, she was an angel, and I always won the spelling bees.
Must broke
Never
your.
lost the spelling bee. And one time I thought, well, geez, I like to show Sharon I really like her, so I'm going to let her win. So I misspelled a word so she would spell the word and get the.
How old were you?
Boy, she read into me.
How old were you?
11.
And you let her win, and she won. And what'd you say?
Don't ever do that.
She knew you threw the spelling bee.
She said, "Who? What did you doing?" I said, "I like you." Well,
And so to you
I
that didn't.
don't like you.
Oh really?
Yeah. So what I thought was she liked my brain, but she didn't like
She
anything
wasn't
else.
attracted to you. Yeah.
That hurt.
Yeah. I remember going through that
That
very
hurt.
distinctly. Okay, and that's tough. That's your most vivid memory of your teenage years.
Well, I have other memories where teachers told me that I should be doing a lot better. And,
See, the things you remember are the building blocks that made you who you are.
yeah.
Those critical moments when somebody said something to you that changed how you thought from that point forward.
Well, I have a pretty good memory on most of that stuff.
I think a lot of people do, probably more than they realize.
Yeah.
It's asking the right questions to get to the right answers is probably the key. So, what do you remember most about Grandma?
Which grandma?
Your mom.
My mom? Oh, God. Brent, she was the most wonderful person in the world. She was.
Take your time.
She was. If I were a woman, she's everything I would want to be. If, if, if I were a good son, she's everything I'd want to be. She she put up with she worked. She she just she was like a saint. She, there was nothing I wouldn't do for her.
What was most important to her?
Huh?
What was most important to her?
How do you mean that?
Like what? I guess, I mean, if I answered that, I would say that that family was, that was
Well, the
what motivated
family
her. And
was important to her. It was important to her that we got fed correctly. She made everything from scratch. She was I was very blessed with her. She was just the greatest mother in the world. She want me to tell you the truth. What are you crying for?
because it brings back a lot of fond memories. I remember her being super stern, but
She was stern.
it was never just like Grandma Krebs. You knew it was out of love. It was never mean.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you remember most about Grandpa?
Oh, Grandpa worked himself. He enjoyed fishing. He enjoyed a pipe. He smoked too much when he was younger. Then he went to the pipe. He liked. He would let other people get the best of him a lot, like Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil was the
And Uncle Phil was his brother, right?
Uncle Phil was bright, uh, very bright person, and Dad never wanted to challenge anything. And when Grandpa Silverwood died, that Grandpa didn't get anything, so therefore we didn't get anything out of it very much.
Oh,
And
Uncle Phil got everything?
Uncle Phil got, well, they divided some stuff up between Jimmy and Bill and Dad, but the grandkids never got anything, and there were
So wait a
things
minute,
that,
wait a minute. Uncle Phil was Uncle Phil and Aunt Pret were Stephen and Monique's mom and dad, right?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, and that's not uncommon, unfortunately, that kind of manipulation in the States.
But my dad was taken advantage of by a lot of things, but he never got taken advantage of when he was fishing. He was quite a fisherman. He was quite a man. He walked. He walked as if he was in the 1880s. He was a man of like time never, you know.
He was very soft spoken and very simple in that he didn't need he like he just seemed like
Well, can you imagine him being my dad?
yeah it
He
reminds
had a lot of trouble understanding word that. What the heck?
he
What's
made
this
me
thing? You know?
I I picture him like a Woodrow Wilson or Teddy Roosevelt kind of guy. I mean, I picture him as the stern,
Yeah.
father figure, grandpa figure who,
He
I mean, he
loved
just,
he loved the Indians and the Browns, and when they won, he'd watch them. But most of the time, he'd be out by the water, fishing or working in the yard or something.
yeah, I remember him. And I remember the dog.
Yeah,
Uh,
he loved dogs.
what was the beagle's name that he had? The hunting dog we had right at the end, the white. And I can't think of her name now.
I probably will one of these.
Had that little pen behind the garage.
Yeah, Becky.
Becky, yeah. Yeah.
Becky Tippy, and yeah,
And then they had that poodle for a little bit.
yeah.
What was most important to Grandpa?
That the kids got an education, got fed, developed personality, that he was able to give them what as much as he could.
I remember you guys telling us about the the assembly when they showed up. It was when Danette was in 6th grade, I was in 7th, and Heidi was in 8th. So we were in all 3 grades of middle school, and we got like was some insane like 26 out of 36 or 28 out of 36 of the awards
Yeah,
went to us three. And Mom said it was just recently she told me about that. She said Grandma and Grandpa and her mom and dad too always used to tell you guys you're not doing this right, you're not doing that right. And she said after that assembly, Grandma and Grandpa Silverwood never again corrected what you guys were doing to raise the kids, which I thought was pretty cool. It was really cool that they got to see that too.
well, I
Unfortunately,
was a real bad father in a lot of ways. I I tried to make you guys understand that what I was going through, I didn't want to see you guys going through. I wanted you to end up doing something you really wanted to do.
so how did that make you a bad father? I think Heidi and Jeanette and I got the message.
I don't think that I did.
I think Drew got the message. He doesn't want to do what he hates to do, but I don't think Stephanie. I don't think. I think she, her demeanor or her, whatever her choices to get away with, and I hate to say it, I hate to blame it on the system, but I think kids today in general, especially her generation, really went through struggles with responsibility.
I feel really bad. I lost communications with Danette, and I don't get to see my grandson.
What do you mean you've lost communications with the net? Pick up the phone and call her.
That's not.
It doesn't have to be contentious.
That's not.
Just say I haven't heard from you in a while. I just want to see how you were doing. Why not?
Too much has gone over the woods.
It's never too much. Never too much, man. It's painful, but it's never too much. It's more painful to go on without it than to go back across the bridge.
Well, she doesn't show up at Christmas when we know if there's a problem. So. Anyway.
Okay. If Grandma and Grandpa had a message to you and their grandchildren, what do you think it is?
For me to be myself, for them to be themselves, and to tolerate me.
To tolerate you. How did you meet Mom, and how did you know she was the one? You guys met at Martin Memorial, right?
Yeah. Well, that's very interesting.
I was gonna say I don't know that I've ever really heard this story.
We worked so closely together. Everybody in that 40-bed hospital, and
40 bed.
Yeah.
That's all Martin Memorial was.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the patients would come in, the emergency room, and I'd go back and I'd help. I wasn't a doctor, but they trusted me, and I would hold patients for the doctor. I would talk to the patient. The doctor would say, "Go ahead." I knew them all. They trusted me, and we got to talking, and
So it was like Dr. Bogardus and
yeah,
all the.
we got to talking, and
We who?
your mother and I, and
No, she worked in the office, right?
she worked in the office, and I had to talk to her about office stuff sometimes.
If that was your story. So you were hitting
So
on her at
that
work.
was the truth.
I
I
know,
never
I'm-
made excuses to see her.
I'm giving you a hard time.
And I had one date with with a woman that worked in the snack shop there. We spent all time talking to a dead boyfriend that died in Vietnam.
Oh, jeez.
And I we just did. Actually, I think I don't think it. I even thought about getting married until I met you guys.
But I
And then
mean,
I thought,
how did you guys go on your first date?
well, you. I
What's
came
your
up
first
to,
date coming over to the house?
I came up to you guys. Yeah,
I remember that. So you didn't even go out for dinner or anything until you met us kids.
yeah. Then we went out several times, and then we got married.
I remember you coming over, and I remember the first time because I remember Mom sitting us down and talking to us.
I take water pills. I have to go to the bathroom a lot. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm not trying to get out of it.
No, you're right.
I just